Creatine and magnesium glycinate changed my body after 30 days, and I wish someone had told me this at 50. If you are a man over 50 and you are taking these supplements separately, you are doing it completely wrong. Stay with me because what happens at day 21 will genuinely shock you. Why men over 50 are deficient in both and do not know it. Here is the brutal truth nobody is telling you. By age 50, your natural creatine production drops by up to 20%, and over 60% of adults over 50 are clinically low in magnesium. Both deficiencies are happening silently right now, and they are draining your energy, destroying your sleep, and shrinking your muscle mass every single year you ignore them. Here is what makes this combination genuinely special. Magnesium is a required cofactor for creatine kinase, which is the enzyme your body uses to actually activate creatine at the cellular level. No magnesium means creatine cannot work properly. You are essentially paying for a sports car and leaving it without an engine. That is money wasted and results wasted. Most people take magnesium oxide because it is cheap. Your body absorbs roughly 4% of it. 4%. Magnesium glycinate absorbs dramatically better and comes bonded to glycine, an amino acid that independently calms your nervous system and promotes deep sleep. You are getting two powerful compounds in one capsule that most people have never even considered. I have linked the exact creatine I personally use every single day down in the description. Go check it out. And if you are a man over 50 who wants my free 30-day workout plan built specifically for your body, comment the word active below right now because I genuinely care about your health. The first 14 days. What is happening inside your body that you cannot see yet? Here is where most people quit. And I mean that literally. Studies show that over 60% of people who start a new supplement routine abandon it within the first 2 weeks because they do not feel anything yet. And that is tragic because what is happening inside your body during these first 14 days is arguably the most important phase of this entire process. You just cannot feel it yet. It is like planting a seed and getting angry that there is no tree after 3 days. Patience, gentlemen. Patience. During days 1 through 7, when you begin taking creatine monohydrate, specifically about 5 grams per day, which is the clinically studied dose, your muscles begin what is called the saturation process. Your skeletal muscles can store between 120 and 140 grams of creatine total, and most people are only walking around at about 60 to 80% of their capacity. So during this first week, every dose you take is literally filling up your fuel tanks. You will not feel stronger. You will not look different. But your phosphocreatine stores are climbing every single day. Now simultaneously, if you are taking 300 to 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate, preferably in the evening, something remarkable begins happening with your sleep architecture. And this is a detail that most content creators completely miss. A 2022 study published in the journal Nutrients found that magnesium supplementation specifically increased slow-wave sleep, which is the deepest phase of sleep, by nearly 12% within the first 10 days. Why does this matter? Because slow-wave sleep is when your body releases the majority of its growth hormone. And after 50, your natural growth hormone production has already declined by roughly 50% compared to your 30s. So by improving your deep sleep, you are indirectly boosting one of the most powerful anabolic hormones in your body without injecting anything, without a prescription, without spending thousands of dollars at an anti-aging clinic. Let me repeat that because I need it to sink in. Better magnesium status leads to deeper sleep. Deeper sleep leads to more natural growth hormone release. And more growth hormone means better muscle recovery, better fat metabolism, and better skin elasticity. From a mineral that costs you maybe 15 cents a day. Now during days 7 through 14, the creatine saturation is reaching meaningful levels, and here is a fact that almost nobody knows. Creatine does not just go to your muscles. A groundbreaking study from the University of Sydney published in 2023 confirmed that creatine supplementation measurably increased brain creatine concentrations in adults over 45. The researchers used magnetic resonance spectroscopy to literally watch creatine levels rise in the brain tissue. And what they found was that cognitive processing speed, which is how fast your brain can take in information and respond to it, improved by approximately 6% in just 2 weeks. 6% does not sound like a lot until you realize that cognitive processing speed typically declines by about 1% per year after age 40. So in 2 weeks, you essentially rolled back 6 years of cognitive aging. 6 years. From a supplement that bodybuilders have been using since the 1990s to get bigger biceps. The irony is beautiful, and here is where the combination starts to matter. Magnesium is a required cofactor in over 600 enzymatic reactions in the human body, and several of those reactions are directly involved in how your body synthesizes and utilizes creatine. Specifically, the enzyme creatine kinase, which is responsible for transferring phosphate groups to regenerate adenosine triphosphate from creatine, requires magnesium to function properly. So if you are taking creatine without adequate magnesium, you are essentially putting premium fuel in a car with a clogged fuel line. The magnesium opens the line. It makes the creatine work better. This is synergy, gentlemen. Real, biochemical synergy. But we are still not at the part that shocked me the most. That comes later. And honestly, when I tell you what the research shows about what happens in weeks 3 and 4, you might pause this video and go order both of these supplements immediately. But let us keep building. The hidden benefits nobody is talking about: blood sugar, blood pressure, and your heart. Now I know what you came here for. You want to know about muscle and energy and maybe sleep. And yes, we are covering all of that. But what if I told you that this combination is doing something for your cardiovascular system and your metabolic health that could literally be the difference between being on medications for the rest of your life or not? Because that is what the emerging research is pointing toward, and it is frankly irresponsible that more people are not discussing this. Let us talk about something called insulin sensitivity. After the age of 50, your body's ability to manage blood sugar starts to decline, even if you eat relatively well. This is partly because your muscle mass is decreasing, and skeletal muscle is the single largest site of glucose disposal in your body. Your muscles are like sponges for blood sugar. Less muscle means less sponge. More sugar stays in your blood. Your pancreas has to pump out more insulin. And over time, that leads to insulin resistance, which is the precursor to type 2 diabetes, which currently affects over 37 million Americans and is the 7th leading cause of death in this country. Here is where creatine enters the conversation in a way most people have never heard. A 2021 meta-analysis published in the journal Medicine and Science in Sports and Exercise found that creatine supplementation combined with resistance training improved markers of glycemic control significantly more than resistance training alone. The mechanism? Creatine increases something called glucose transporter type 4 translocation to the muscle cell membrane. In plain English, creatine helps your muscle cells open more doors for blood sugar to enter, which means less sugar floating around in your bloodstream causing damage. This is not a small effect. This is a meaningful, measurable improvement in how your body handles sugar. Now add magnesium glycinate to this equation, and things get really compelling. Magnesium deficiency, which affects an estimated 50 to 60% of adults over 50 in the United States, is independently associated with a 48% increased risk of developing type 2 diabetes. That number comes from a 2023 systematic review published in the journal Diabetes Care. 48% increased risk from being low in one mineral. And here is the part that should make you sit up in your chair. Magnesium is directly involved in insulin signaling at the cellular receptor level. Without adequate magnesium, your insulin receptors become less responsive, almost like a lock that has gotten rusty. Magnesium is the oil that keeps those locks working smoothly. So when you combine creatine opening more glucose doors on your muscle cells with magnesium, keeping your insulin receptors sensitive and responsive, you are attacking blood sugar management from 2 completely different angles simultaneously. I am not aware of any pharmaceutical that does both of these things with essentially 0 side effects at this cost. Now let us talk about your blood pressure for a moment, because this one surprised even me. A 2022 randomized controlled trial out of the University of Hertfordshire found that magnesium glycinate supplementation at 400 milligrams per day reduced systolic blood pressure by an average of 5.6 millimeters of mercury and diastolic by 2.8 millimeters of mercury over 8 weeks. Now those numbers might seem small, but according to the American Heart Association, a reduction of just 5 millimeters of mercury in systolic pressure reduces your risk of stroke by 14% and your risk of heart disease by 9%. From a mineral supplement, 14% less stroke risk. And creatine, despite the persistent myth that it raises blood pressure, has actually been shown in multiple studies to have either a neutral or slightly beneficial effect on blood pressure, particularly in older adults who are also engaging in resistance training. The myth came from the fact that creatine causes water retention inside muscle cells, which people confused with the kind of water retention that raises blood pressure. Those are two completely different physiological processes. Intracellular hydration, which is what creatine causes, is actually a sign of healthy, well-hydrated muscle tissue. It is not edema. It is not bloating. Your muscles are literally holding more water inside the cells where it belongs, and this actually triggers an anabolic signal that promotes muscle protein synthesis. Your muscles interpret that cellular swelling as a signal to grow. Your body is brilliant, gentlemen. Absolutely brilliant. Now I know you are waiting for me to get to what happens at the 30-day mark, and specifically around that day 21 to 28 window. Day 21 through 30, the compound effect, and what the latest research reveals. Alright, this is the part 1 I've been building toward, and the reason I made this entire video. Because what happens between day 21 and day 30 of consistent creatine and magnesium glycinate supplementation is where the compound effect kicks in and where the research gets genuinely exciting. By day 21, your muscle creatine stores are fully saturated. This is established science. The loading phase, whether you did it aggressively over 5 to 7 days with 20 grams per day or gradually over 3 weeks with 5 grams per day, has done its job. Your phosphocreatine system is now operating at full capacity. And this means something very specific for men over 50 that I want you to hear clearly. Your type 2 muscle fibers, which are the fast-twitch fibers responsible for explosive power, the ones that help you catch yourself when you trip, the ones that help you get up from a chair without using your arms, the ones that help you carry your grandchildren, those fibers have now been re-energized in a way they have not been in years, possibly decades. A 2023 study published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition, and this is very recent data, found that men between the ages of 50 and 71 who supplemented with creatine monohydrate for 4 weeks and performed resistance training 3 times per week experienced an average increase in upper body strength of 12% and lower body strength of 17% compared to the placebo group who did the same training. 17% stronger legs in 30 days. Think about what that means for fall prevention. Think about what that means for independence. Think about what that means for quality of life. But here is the part that made me actually gasp when I read the research, and I am not being dramatic. By day 21 to 28, the magnesium glycinate has done something that goes beyond sleep and beyond muscle relaxation. The glycine component, remember that amino acid that magnesium glycinate is bonded to, has been accumulating in your system and performing a function that researchers at the Buck Institute for Research on Aging published a landmark paper about in 2023. Glycine supplementation was found to mimic certain aspects of methionine restriction, which is one of the most robust longevity interventions ever studied in laboratory models. Methionine restriction has been shown to extend lifespan in multiple species by activating cellular cleanup processes called autophagy and by reducing something called the mTOR signaling pathway, which when chronically elevated, accelerates aging. Let me be very clear. I am not saying magnesium glycinate will make you live forever. I am saying that the glycine you are getting as a bonus from this specific form of magnesium is engaging cellular pathways that are directly associated with longevity research. You are getting an anti-aging compound as a free rider on your sleep supplement. That is extraordinary. And here is where the 30-day picture comes together in a way that I find genuinely profound. At the 30-day mark, multiple systems in your body have been quietly upgrading simultaneously. Your brain has more creatine available for energy, and research shows this correlates with improved working memory and reduced mental fatigue. Your muscles are fully saturated and responding to exercise with greater strength gains. Your sleep quality has improved, leading to better growth hormone release. Your blood sugar management has improved from 2 independent mechanisms. Your blood pressure may have come down by a clinically meaningful amount. Your nervous system is calmer because glycine is reducing neuronal excitability. And at the cellular level, autophagy pathways associated with longevity have been gently stimulated. But there is one more thing I saved for the very end, because it is the most recent and perhaps the most surprising finding of all. In late 2023, a research group at the University of Chieti in Italy published data showing that creatine supplementation in older adults reduced levels of a biomarker called C-reactive protein, which is one of the most important indicators of chronic systemic inflammation. Chronic inflammation, sometimes called inflammaging in gerontology, is now considered by many researchers to be the primary driver of almost every age-related disease, including heart disease, Alzheimer's disease, cancer, and arthritis. The reduction was not trivial. It was statistically significant and clinically meaningful. So let me bring this full circle. When I said at the beginning of this video that not combining these two supplements is leaving years of your life on the table, I was not using hyperbole. I was referring to the convergence of improved brain energy, enhanced muscle function, better sleep architecture, superior blood sugar control, reduced blood pressure, calmer nervous system function, activated longevity pathways, and reduced systemic inflammation. All of this from two supplements that together cost less than a daily cup of coffee from a gas station. Now here is my honest recommendation based on everything I have researched and personally experienced. Take 5 grams of creatine monohydrate daily, ideally with a meal for better absorption. Take 300 to 400 milligrams of magnesium glycinate approximately 1 hour before bed. Do this consistently for 30 days. Do not skip days. Do not take a weekend off. Consistency is what drives saturation and adaptation. I have linked the exact creatine I use personally in the description below. I have tested multiple brands, and this is the one I trust with my own health. Go check it out and make your own decision. And one final time, if you are a man over 50 and you want my free 30-day workout plan that I designed to pair with exactly this kind of supplementation strategy, comment the word active down below. I will personally make sure you get access because your health matters to me. I am not doing this for the algorithm. I am doing this because I believe men over 50 deserve better information than what is currently out there. Now go take your creatine, take your magnesium, get to bed on time, and I will see you in the next video. Stay strong, gentlemen.